Another huge matchup in the SEC that is kind of getting a little overshadowed by the Texas-Georgia game, but is nonetheless a huge matchup in the Southeastern Conference and in the national title picture. The Oklahoma Sooners, the two-loss Oklahoma Sooners, are traveling on the road to take on the white-hot Alabama Crimson Tide, who have won 8 straight games, I believe, against some pretty good opponents. So huge matchup in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's a 2:30 local kickoff. Fun fact, Oklahoma, in recent memory, has kind of owned the Crimson Tide. They've won 4 of the last 5 against Alabama, and they are 1-0. They've never lost in Tuscaloosa. That one win did come in 2003, which were kind of the dark ages of Alabama football, but it still happened. Last time these two teams played was last year in Norman, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma sure did get the best of the Crimson Tide in that matchup, knocking them out of the playoffs. But Alabama, against the teams they lost to last year, they're 2-0 this year. Against those teams, they beat Vandy and they beat Tennessee, and now they get Oklahoma at home. Can they complete the revenge sweep, or will the Sooners make a compelling case why they should be playoff locks? So, before this game starts, I just want to say, and I want to highlight this, I am very rarely right about these things that I talk about in college football. Like, I picked Clemson to make the playoffs. I picked Texas Tech to lose to Kansas State. I picked Penn State to make the playoffs. I have been so wrong this year on so many things. I just wanted to put that out there. But one thing that I have been overwhelmingly right about is the Oklahoma Sooners. Literally in the preseason, I predicted Oklahoma to win all of their games except for Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama. And so right now, I have been completely right about Oklahoma. So I just want to say I was right about that one thing. And everything else I've been wrong about. But Oklahoma, man, they've been my team. They've been my straight and narrow. So I've had a good read on this Sooner team so far. And they're getting better. I'll explain why they're getting better in a moment. But let's start with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Just sort of breaking them down first and foremost. The very obvious thing about Alabama right now, if you've watched any Alabama football the last few games, you know that this Alabama Crimson Tide team, yes, they have a very great passing game that's very consistent and efficient, but they cannot run the ball at all. I mean, I don't care who they are playing. Alabama cannot run the ball. I mean, the last 2 games they played were against South Carolina and against LSU. And if you don't know, the SEC teams that have played against South Carolina and LSU, the floodgates have opened for them in terms of their rushing offense. I mean, South Carolina is literally the team that every SEC team that struggled to run the ball found their run game against South Carolina, and Alabama went out against the Gamecocks and yet again could not run the ball. Same with LSU. Vandy just creased up LSU. They had a bunch of explosive plays. Same with Texas A&M. LSU could not stop the run at all in that football game. And Alabama goes out against both those teams and barely runs the ball at all. So, no, in my opinion, there is not a single team in the SEC that Alabama's going to be able to run the ball against. It's not going to happen. And it is especially not going to happen against this Oklahoma front seven. But I'll talk about that in a second. I feel like everybody is throwing out there that Alabama can't run the ball. That's just sort of a thing that everybody says and everybody knows. But no one really talks about why that is. Everyone just kind of assumes that it's just because they can't. Well, why is that? Why can't they run the ball? In my opinion, it's for 2 reasons. First of all, I don't think Jam Miller is a very good running back. That is my personal take. I think that he's very patient. I don't think he hits the holes. There's creases that this offensive line is creating. It's just Jam Miller is not hitting them in time. He's waiting too much. I think that if they put in 4, Daniel Hill, the big old 250-pound thigh master, I think that they will get 5 to 7 yards a carry because he's big, he doesn't hesitate, he hits the hole. Make defenses tackle him 15 to 20 times a game, and I think your run game will take a step up. But also, in the tape I've watched from this Alabama run, their rushing attack or lack thereof, they really put their guards one-on-one with big nose tackles a lot. And I'm not saying Alabama's guards are not very good because Cam Dewberry and Jaden Roberts are huge human beings. Those are their right and left guard. But this is just sort of a thing in the SEC. You don't just put your guards one-on-one with defensive tackles. That's not a recipe for success. What you do is you take your center, you take Parker Brailsford, your All-American center, and you double team a guard and then work up to a linebacker to create a crease. That's how a run game works. You're trying to get your running back one-on-one with a safety. That's how it works. So if you're just one-on-one blocking the nose tackle, and your center is just going up to the linebacker, your running back is not going to have time, because that just gives more time for the defense to win one-on-one battles. So I have a problem with that. And then I have a problem with Jam Miller not being a very good running back. I think the product of both of those things is why Alabama has no consistency in the run game. But the passing game has been great. I mean, Ty Simpson has been efficient, has not turned the ball over. He's not quite at the top, but near the top, but a lot of people's Heisman Trophy lists. He's been a great player for this Alabama team. Honestly, he saved this team. Ty Simpson's brilliance, to me, is the only reason why Alabama's offense is shining. I think their receivers are good. They're good, but I don't think they're great. I thought they were great at the beginning of the year. I haven't seen a lot of great things from Ryan Williams at all. Jeremy Bernard has been awesome. I think he understands this offense so well. I think he's a great dude, and I think he's a great football player. But Jeremy Bernard does not consistently win against man coverage. He does a lot, but he doesn't consistently do it. So to me, it's really been Ty Simpson. Just there is no defense for a perfect throw, especially in man coverage. And Ty Simpson has made perfect throw after perfect throw in a lot of these football games to beat defenses. So I think that's been really good. They've also been elite on third down. But let's look at this Oklahoma defense, because this Oklahoma defense, this is Brent Venables' defense. This is a good, strong, dominant defense from Oklahoma. I think they have the best front seven. Them and Texas, I can't decide. Oklahoma's front seven is as elite as Texas's. It's very close between the two. I'm not going to pick one to be better than the other because they're both so good. But my point is, Oklahoma's front seven has been awesome. They have been one of the best in the SEC. Alabama can't run the ball against any of the worst front sevens in the SEC. There is no way they're going to be able to run the ball against one of the best front sevens in the SEC. So, no, I think Alabama might end up with negative rushing yards in this game. I'm being completely honest. That's just what Oklahoma does. You know who Oklahoma shut down a couple weeks ago in terms of their rushing game? The Tennessee Volunteers. Josh Heupel always has good rushing attacks, and Oklahoma shut it down. So, and what they did in that game was they shut down the run, and they made Joey Aguilar throw the ball 40 times a game, which led to him turning the ball over a bunch of times. And then they scored off turnovers. If you watched the Alabama game last year, that's exactly what happened. Oklahoma took away the running attack, and then they speed rushed the quarterback and forced turnovers because Alabama had to throw the ball 40 times a game. So I think we're going to see a similar thing. I think Oklahoma is going to completely take away the run, and they're going to force Alabama to throw the ball 50 times a game. They're going to get pressure because Lord knows Alabama cannot deal with speed rush, and Oklahoma is going to speed rush the heck out of it. And I think that the battle that this game comes down to, will Oklahoma be able to force turnovers and force negative plays in this Alabama passing attack, or will Ty Simpson continue to save this Alabama Crimson Tide team with perfect, amazing passes? At least that's what I think on that side of the ball. If we flip around to the other side of the ball, Oklahoma's run game was not much better than Alabama's run game in the first few games of the season. They really struggled to run the ball at all in the early going. But recently, it's taken a step up. They've improved rushing the football. They had 136 yards rushing against Ole Miss and 192 yards rushing on the road against a really good Tennessee front seven. And Alabama's run defense is 11th in the SEC. They have been getting creased a little bit. They got creased a bunch against Vanderbilt. That's why Vanderbilt was able to sort of be in that game for a really long time, because of their ability to run the ball. They kind of went away from it, which I was very confused about. But they got creased against them. Of course, Florida State ran the ball all over them. Early in the year, different team, I know. But still, Alabama's run defense is not as elite as Oklahoma's, and Oklahoma's rushing attack is much more elite than Alabama's. So that's just a thing to look out for. I will say, Oklahoma's pass blocking was terrible last year. It's improved, but it's not great this year. I think I've talked about how I think the X factor for this Alabama defense is Yonze Pierre. He's the guy they haven't had in the last couple of years. They have not had a dominant edge rusher that can win on third down on this Alabama team in a while. They have it with Yonze Pierre. He's going up against a non-elite Oklahoma pass protection. So can Yonze Pierre make plays? I think that could be a major X factor in this football game. To me, it comes down to, will Ty Simpson turn the ball over? And will this Oklahoma front seven create explosive negative plays? Or will Ty Simpson continue to prove that he's the best quarterback in college football? And will the Alabama defense make enough plays there? I think it's going to be a really close game. Honestly, I think turnovers will decide it. And I am just so 50-50 on this game, just like the Georgia-Texas game. Both of these games I am so 50-50 on. But I have to trust Kalen DeBoer in the close games because Kalen DeBoer in his career has been so good at winning close games. And I just have to pick Crimson Tide at home. They haven't lost a home SEC game since 2019. And Kalen DeBoer is so good in close games. So for those reasons, I have to pick Alabama. But I'm just this close to picking Oklahoma. I'm so close to picking Oklahoma. I'm so close to picking Texas. And I'm just riding with the dogs in the Tide this week. So roll Tide at Saban Field, 2:30 local kickoff. Should be great weather in Tuscaloosa. Should be an awesome football team between one of the best defensive coach teams in the nation and one of the best passing attacks in the nation. Should be a fun one to watch. I'm excited to watch it, and give me the Crimson Tide in this one.